Hello, hello, welcome back to my channel. It's me, SB, and we are doing another tatting video. So we are working out of an antique pattern rather from 1938, which is pretty cool. And today I am working on pattern number 836. So yeah, this is what it looks like when it is all complete. Now I am switching up my yarn today because I'm actually still working on this piece, and it's a little complicated, but not really, if you know what I'm saying. So let's go ahead and delve right in. So for this, you are definitely going to need a crochet hook. I'm not sure what size this is, but it's just a small steel crochet hook. So make sure that you have one handy because you're definitely going to need it for this project. And I am just using a larger tatting needle for this one, since it's just an example. And I'm using blue yarn or thread. Hopefully you'll be able to see what's going on with the blue yarn. So in this pattern, we are going to be making true rings and working off the needle thread and the ball thread. The ball thread is only going to be used for the chains. So you're going to want to leave a good healthy amount for your needle thread because we're going to be using a lot of it. In the first example that you saw in the white thread, I had to attach thread 3 times to get that length. So just so you're aware. So I got about an arm's length here. We'll see if that's going to be sufficient enough. So for our first step, we are going to be creating a ring. So that means we are going to be working off of the needle thread. So hopefully you know how to work true rings. If not, I will link a video up there in the iCard section or in the description box for you. So working off the needle thread. Okay, so for our first ring, we're going to work 6 double stitches off of the needle thread. Pretty simple so far. So this is going to be a true ring that we are making, and 6, and then we're going to do a picot. Now with these picots on this ring, we are going to make kind of big because we are going to be joining our other ring too, and we want to make sure that we have enough room to create that look. So I will get the picot gauge and tell you. So it goes to about the 5th step if you're wanting to use a picot gauge. So that's a pretty big picot there. So now we're going to go ahead and keep going, and we are going to place 6 double stitches. So let's go ahead and close our ring. There is our first ring complete. And we are not reversing our work, so simply just move your needle thread, because we're going to make another true ring, over to the left or to the right if you're working, different hands here. So what I've been doing is leaving a tiny thread space in between this ring and the next, just to give that a little bit more flexibility. So our next ring, we are going to do 6 double stitches. And we are going to join to our first ring. So that's why we left that picot really big and a small thread space. That's probably like 1/8 of an inch thread space. So crochet hook, we are going to grab that, plop it on there, and now we are joined. And we are going to do 3 double stitches. So that's 1, 2, 3, picot, 2, picot, 2 double stitches, picot, 2 double stitches, picot, 2 double stitches. This is quite a large ring. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Picot, 2 double stitches, picot, 3 double stitches, right, and make sure 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and this last picot you're going to leave pretty big, about the same width as we made our picot on our first ring, and then 3 double stitches. Here we go. So in total, counting the one that we joined to, 1, 2, 3, 4, ooh, I made that one kind of small. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 total picots. And let's close our ring. Now I'm not going to tighten my ring too much because I don't want it to not be able to move, because you'll see why here in a minute. Alright, so after this ring we are going to reverse our work. So now our ball thread is going off to the left, and we are going to complete a chain off of our ball thread. So the chain consists of 8 double stitches, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 picot, and this picot doesn't have to be crazy big, and then 5 double stitches, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And let's close our chain. And you're going to see how it's going to kind of curl around. There we go. And that's exactly what we want. And now we're going to reverse our work. Let's go ahead and close this off. And we're going to move on to working back on our needle thread. So let's go ahead and get everything resituated so we can work off of the needle thread. And we are going to repeat ring 1. So ring 1 is 6 double stitches, picot, remembering to leave this picot fairly large, and then 6 double stitches. Okay, and let's close this ring. And since we're using true rings, we don't have to tie a knot after we're done. Once you complete that ring, do not reverse your work. We're simply going to readjust our thread here and continue on to the next ring. Okay, so set up for the next element, simply move your needle thread over to the left and get ready for the next ring. So next ring is going to be the large ring once again. So leave a tiny, tiny little thread space, and it's going to consist of 6 double stitches. And we are going to join to the previous ring, crochet hook, and make sure that sits in there. Actually, I'm going to put it the other way. These tend to twist a little bit, so make sure that you are placing your join here in the correct way. I find whenever I pick it up a certain way, I have to adjust it, so just be mindful of that. All right, next is going to be 3 double stitches. There's our 3, and we are going to join once again, but this time we are going to join to our second ring and to that very, very large picot that we left earlier. So let's go ahead and join. There we go. And we are going to complete this ring. And then this is the one picot that we're going to make fairly large, because this is the one that we're going to be joining to. And then 3 double stitches. 2 and 3. So you should have a total of 8 picots on this ring. So let's go ahead and close, and as you can see how small my needle thread has gotten, so just keep that in mind. Just make sure that this gets nice and tight right here. Okay, so this is what we have so far, and it's looking exactly like the pattern on there. Like, it looks pretty good. I like it. So after this ring, we reverse our work and work off of the ball thread to complete a chain. So let's go ahead and complete our chain while we're here. And the chain is 8 double stitches, picot, 5 double stitches. Let's close that ring, or that chain. Make sure it gets nice and snug up against your rings here. As you can see here, they're nice and snug. And once you complete this, we are going to reverse our work and go ahead and close that off with a knot. And this is where I would go ahead and join a new piece of thread here, because that is way too short to work the next ring. There we go. And what I would actually do is go ahead and place another knot just to really make sure that's going to be secure. Just like that. And I leave it in the direction that I'm working. So the next ring is going to be right here. So what I usually do whenever I attach new thread is I go ahead and weave in my ends. It's going to be a little difficult to see because it is such a small area, but I just go in between my stitches here, try to get right in there, kind of weave it in. You don't have to go very, very far. It's such a small area that it should just hold it in there. There we go. It's a little difficult to see. Just like that. Now it could distort your stitches right in here, so just keep that in mind. And I cut that really, really close. Okay, as you can see here, I've weaved it in, and now I'm just going to clip it really close to those stitches. And I'm going to do the same thing with my ball thread. Just remember which way we are working. So yeah, you're going to be doing a lot of this with this pattern is, you know, weaving in, cutting, adding more, weaving in, cutting, adding more, depending on how long you want to work this pattern for. So once again, I'm just going to go through, just weaving it in between there, pulling it through. Sorry, I know it's so hard to see. You'll understand it better once you're doing it, because when you're working with little thin thread like this, it's really hard to see. Alright, so now we've got that. I did not cut that far enough, so that's going to be visible. So now to attach the new thread. So we're simply going to zoom out a little bit. So now I'm going to grab my new thread, thread my needle. Once again, leave a nice length. So once you get that done, we are simply going to go in between where we put our knot and our last stitch. So here's our last stitch right here. Our knot is very clearly there. And we're just going to push our needle through. And I usually go from the back to the front and simply just weave it in and make sure that you have enough needle thread out, so that way you don't have to attach very often. And once again, we're going to add another knot. So we're going to have like 3 knots right here. So just be mindful of that. And now we are going to work off of the needle thread. So switch everything around, get everything situated. And we are going to work our first ring once again. So 6 double stitches, picot, remembering to leave that picot fairly large, and 6 double stitches. Close your ring. And there you go. And remember not to reverse your work. Simply move your needle thread over to the left and continue on to the next element. If we take a look at the picture here, this is pattern 836 right here. I'll pop a picture up here so you can see it better. But it seems like they left their chains a little looser, kind of like this one right here. So just keep that in mind, you know. I kind of like the way it looks whenever you have the ring kind of sitting on top of it. Just like that. I think that looks cute. But yeah, you just repeat those 3 elements. So the chain, the small ring, and the large ring are your repeating elements all throughout this. Being sure to reverse your work at the end of the chain and at the end of the large ring. So just remember that and smooth sailing. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this pattern. As always, I will leave the entire written pattern that I rewrote at the end of the video, and it's always up at the top anyways. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this pattern. It is a little confusing in my opinion, but once you start working it up, it's pretty simple. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye!